Hi, Kamustika. Welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. It's been a while since I did a live stream, so I'm going to be a little bit out of practice here, I am sure. The topic tonight, is going to be: Is marriage a ball and chain? And I want to talk about the benefits of marriage from a particular article. It's actually a PDF file, and I would try to link it for you, but it's so long, I don't think it's going to fit within the number of characters over there on the side. But you can see there is the Filipino visa affiliate link I have, and then the Christian Filipina affiliate link that I have. That's where I met my wife. So I want to help other men be able to find a woman from the Philippines. And quite frankly, I don't care where she lives or where you live. My contention, unabashedly, is that men need wives. Most men need wives. There are some men who have little interest in sex, and so there's really no draw for marriage to them. And I mean, there's a lot of sexually frustrated guys out there. One of the reasons, there may be several, but one is they're not married, and that's great benefit for marriage, and is supposed to help allow a man to focus on other things in life other than being sexually frustrated all the time. And we'll talk in this article about some statistics to show that married men, yes, have more sex. You might have heard that, and that's what we're going to cover here today. Now, I'm going to try to find this so I can. Good. Now, that way I can take my eye off and still see any comments. I know, haven't done this in a while, and in all likelihood, nobody's going to show up. Um, Love Beyond the Sea is to help men find a woman from the Philippines, but also motivate men to just get married, because marriage is so much better. I can speak from my own experience. Here on YouTube, I've got, I think, 1,170 or more videos. There are hundreds more that I have topics for that I want to be doing. And so, since most people will be seeing this after it's done going live, um, there's a lot of videos, there's a lot of playlists to go through. Um, and I've been doing this for less than 4.5 years as far as having a YouTube channel. I do have a TikTok channel. It's probably 100 to 200 times more successful as far as getting views. Um, but I like to communicate live with people. It's just they don't seem to be able to find the channel. And I believe marriage is a topic that people do want to talk about. I give them the opportunity to do that. This is a pro marriage channel. I know there's a lot of people that have negative things to say about being married. They're not going to convince any of us who are having good marriages that something is going to go wrong with our marriage. They might want to try that. Maybe they even want to see that. But there are ways to help the marriage be successful. And I talk a lot about that on this channel, Love Beyond the Sea. Is marriage a ball and chain? If I go back in my work life, this had to be, I think I was still a teenager. And yeah, somebody talked to me like that. Why would I want to get married? It's like being in prison. It's like being, in a ball and chain. I didn't think that was the case. That has not been my experience. And so, as I begin talking about this, I hope that you would, leave comments. We can talk. I'm right here. If you're right there, then we can talk and get a lot more accomplished um, than doing it after the fact. So, if you join here before I'm done, some of you are still at work. It's 5:36, so you should be home by now. I want to go through this PDF. It's from something called IFS, Men and Marriage Research. It actually stands for Institute for Family Studies. I'm just going to read this, make comments, and I'd like you to do the same. Here's their introduction. Marriage is not worth it for men. It's not worth the practical and financial sacrifices, the lost romantic opportunities, or the quote, lack of freedom. All in all, a spouse is a ball and chain of little benefit to any man interested in pursuing happiness and well being. Considering both the latest survey data and the continuing decline in the marriage rate, it's fair to say that this viewpoint is becoming more entrenched in our society, particularly among younger men, they say. But despite its prevalence, the ball and chain view of marriage is simply not supported by the research. Indeed, the benefits of marriage for men are substantial by every conceivable measure, including more money, better sex life, and significantly better physical and mental health. Yet many men remain ignorant of these benefits, a view seemingly promoted by popular culture. Well, surely I'm not popular culture, and I'm going to try to do my part to make marriage great again. We could talk all day about the peripheral issues here on the periphery, what causes marriages to not work. That's a big part of it. It's not that there's something wrong with marriage. It's there's something wrong with the people that go about marriage by being selfish, intolerable, impatient, poor communication skills, unwilling to forgive. I, this is just going to be disaster for any marriage. Marriage is designed for the good of the human race. Back when God said in Genesis 2, it's not good that the man should be alone. I'll make him an helper suitable for him, which is somebody like him, but unlike him. That would exclude gay marriage, where the two are the same. That was not God's intention. He made a man, he made a woman. They are different. And sometimes he can say, well, I don't understand my wife or my husband. Well, you have to try to get to understand them because they're not going to change. They're not going to become like you. You have to do your best to understand how they are and why they are, and do the best you can to live in harmony. These differences are designed for marriage to be the wonderful thing that it is. So let's talk about money, since that was one of their key findings. And please leave comments here. Even if you get it later, leave a comment in the comment section, but usually people don't. So I'm trying to do some live streams now and then just to see if anybody out there is still following this channel. I haven't changed. I'm as committed as ever to, helping people understand that marriage is better than being single. Excuse me. I was single for a very, very, very long time, unwanted singleness. And I got married, and it's been better than I thought it was going to be. So I don't quite understand this sentiment that marriage is a ball and chain. If anything, I've never felt more free and unrestricted and unhindered than I have the last 7 years, since I married a woman from the Philippines, proposing on day 18. And we got married on day 54. Could have done it sooner. But in the Philippines, you have to wait 10 days before you get married. I don't know if this is on the very first trip or what, but that was my first trip down there to see her. Got everything I needed. We got married. Still married now over 7 years later, which is really hard to believe. Time goes fast. So don't give up. If you're dead set against marriage for whatever reason, well, I think that's the wrong attitude, and you probably regret it. Not all men and women need to be married. Some have a special gift to be able to be single. Most of us can't do that. Let's talk about money first. Key finding. This is from this PDF. When it comes to work and money, marriage has a transformative effect upon men. Married men typically work harder, smarter, and more successfully. They are less likely to be fired, and they make about $16,000 more than their single peers with other similar backgrounds. Now, I can't tell where they're getting this information from, but I know they do have the references there, but I am unable to see them here. This is what economists call men's marriage premium. A growing body of research, both in the United States and other developed countries, finds that married men earn between 10 and 40% more than otherwise comparable single men. Is this a selection effort? In other words, does marriage actually increase men's earning power, or are the men with the greatest earning potential most likely to get married in the first place? Selection does account for some of the marriage premium, but the most sophisticated recent research suggests that marriage itself increases the earning power of men on the order of 10 to 24%. For instance, in a study of identical twins, an excellent means of controlling for selection efforts similarly found an earnings increase of about 1/4. Throughout their lives, men who stay married are in much better financial shape than their peers who divorced, or those who never married in the first place. Married men earn more, save more, and generally have access to a second income. Consequently, they have much greater accumulated wealth than their unmarried peers. In fact, a typical 50-something married man, they say here, has 3 times the assets of his unmarried peer, about $167,000 compared to less than $49,000. I mean, I suppose this could be a sign that, or an indication that when a man gets married, he gets more serious about his job and his future because he might have a family that he's trying to have and provide for, and that makes him more responsible. And if that's the case, good. When you're single, your attention tends to be all on yourself. And when you get married, in order to stay married, you'll find out you're going to have to decrease. The needs of the wife and family are going to become more important. When you have children, you're going to become even less important in a sense, as far as, being the center of attention. You marry for the good of your wife. She is your helper. And if you marry wisely, it'll just be the best thing there is. So that's the money issue. Now let's talk about the risk of divorce. The science could not be clearer. On average, men enjoy more money, better sex, and better health when they are married. But of course, not everyone who gets married will stay married. About 42% of first marriages end in divorce. And the majority of these divorces are initiated by women. This means that a large minority of men who marry will end up unwillingly divorced. These men often don't realize much of a return on their investments in married life. The accumulated wisdom of social science suggests there are a number of things men can do to reduce the risk of divorce. Men who do their best to hold down a stable job, who don't abuse drugs or alcohol, who are sexually faithful, who attend religious services regularly with their wives, and who make a regular effort to be emotionally engaged in their marriages are less likely to divorce. Men seeking to avoid divorce should be aware of these things. Now let's talk about better sex lives. When it comes to the quantity of sex, married men do not have an advantage over their cohabitating peers. According to the General Social Survey, 52% of cohabiting young men aged 20 to 39 have sex at least twice a week, compared to 42% of married men. Single men have the least sex, surprisingly, with only 37% of single males in their 20s and 30s having sex twice weekly. Of course, many single men don't have sex partners. This is a problem married men and cohabitating men just don't have. Does that decide the issue in favor of cohabitating men? Not if the quality of sex matters. On average, the quality of married sex trumps that of unmarried sex. According to the National Health and Social Life Survey, 51% of married men reported they were extremely satisfied with their sex lives, compared to 39% of cohabiting men and 36% of single men. A majority of married men also found sex extremely physically pleasurable, compared to a minority of men in unmarried relationships. As if they have a figure below. It shows men reporting they're extremely satisfied, 43% single, 54% married, 44% cohabitating. I say cohabitating, they say cohabiting. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Contrary to all the conventional wisdom, married men find sex more emotionally and physically pleasurable than their unmarried peers. Please leave a comment here as I go through this PDF about benefits of marriage over not being married. Now, continuing, and why do cohabiting men have sex more often than married men? It's probably because cohabiting relationships aren't as stable as marriage. This means that all of the cohabiting adults at any given point in time are in newer relationships than the average married man. So it's the newness of the relationship that's leading to more sex, not anything special about cohabitation. In other words, sex doesn't become less frequent when a couple gets married. Indeed, psychologists Scott Stanley and Howard Markman have shown that sexual frequency in cohabiting relationships isn't any higher after relationship duration is taken into account. Although these findings run counter to almost every movie and sitcom ever produced, the research is indisputable. Why does marriage make sex better? For starters, both spouses are making long-term investments in a good sex life. One of these investments seems to be heightened intimacy. Women are 4 times as likely as men to make love a requirement for having sex. And marriage is obviously a venue in which women are going to feel the love necessary for sexual engagement. Surprisingly, men too, are more likely to experience sexual satisfaction when they know they're in lasting relationships. So, from a sexual perspective, research suggests that marriage is worth the commitment it requires. And why do cohabiting men? I already read that part. So I mean, that makes sense to me, being a married man now for 7 years, when you know that you're with this person, and there's no set amount of times, you're going to have sex. You're probably not going to have it as often as you want it. I mean, life gets busy. Married life gets very busy. There's a lot of responsibilities, but you never have to really worry that you're not going to have it, because you can. You just have to get on the same page and make sure you have time to communicate your needs, and it's it's safe. You know, if you don't have it one day or the next day, you can still have it. There's no need to go around being worried to death, like many of us single people have, um, wondering if they're ever going to have it. That is such a weight off your chest. I don't know. it's it's a wonderful thing to not have to worry about when you're going to have intercourse. That's one of the benefits of being married. Now, the other thing they list here, which looks like will be the last one on this key finding from this PDF, is physical and mental health benefits. Men don't just enjoy a better sex life when married, they are also more likely to experience better physical and emotional health. Research suggests that men who get and stay married live almost 10 years longer than their unmarried peers. What's more, marriage benefits health in numerous and surprising ways. For instance, a recent Harvard study found that even men diagnosed with cancer, married men live significantly longer. What accounts for these surprising findings? Simply put, the companionship, the support, and even the nagging that men get from their wives in marriage translate into better physical health. Married men appear to manage illness better, monitor each other's health, and adopt healthier lifestyles than do otherwise similar singles. For example, one recent study finds married men and married women have higher serum carotenoid levels than never married, divorced, or widowed men, suggesting marriage promotes a diet higher in fruits and vegetables. I certainly am eating better as I get older, and one of the reasons for that is I want to be around as long as I can for my amazing Isa. We know our immune systems function better when we have support from loved ones. Also, wives tend to push doctors and nurses to give their husbands better care when they're in the hospital. Married men are also more likely to be encouraged to see a doctor by their wives. The social and emotional support usually found in marriage translates into better health too. Married men experience less depression and more happiness than bachelors. The General Social Survey tells us that young married men, 20 to 39, are just half as likely to report they are not happy, with only 6% responding that they are unhappy compared to 17% of unmarried men. At 16%, cohabiting men are more similar to singles than to married men. Likewise, young married men are twice as happy. 43% of married men report they are very happy with life compared to only 20% of single men and 21% of cohabiting men. The evidence is clear. They say married men typically enjoy better physical and mental health than their single peers. So, in this regard, too, marriage is worth the investment. I'll read you their final conclusion here in a minute. I like they say marriage is worth the investment. It is. Right now, thinking of investments, I wish I could tell you how much money we've lost this year in our retirement. But if you have a 401k, in all likelihood, you're not very happy with what you see month after month after month. You know, inflation is eating away the money that you do have, and the money you've saved all your life is tumbling down. You know, we hope and pray that things turn around and that will get better. But that's an investment, and that's something that you really can't control. I can put money into a 401k. I certainly want my wife to keep doing that, if not more, now that these prices have all gone down. The value has gone down because this is the time to put money into it. However, we don't control whether our retirement money goes down, we just can only focus on the deposits we make. Now in marriage, I don't think it's all what you can control. I mean, you can't control if somebody, you or your spouse gets sick or dies or something like that, but you can control the effort that you put in to the marriage to make it work. You can control how much time you put into understanding your wife, how much time you spend wanting to listen to her and really hear her out. Um, and so it's constantly you're investing into that marriage. If you stop doing that, you're not going to experience gain. You might lose some things that you have gained. So you always have to make the investment. And your relationship itself, you got to be patient. Just like real monetary investing, you want to ride out those highs and lows. There will be times you and your spouse, even a wonderful Filipina, might not be getting along that great. But you just have to stay the course, keep making those investments. As I've been doing for over 7 years now, I just I can't believe we've been married for 7 years. Seems like yesterday we were in Paris for a second wedding anniversary. Can't believe it. Now 7 years. So I would just encourage everybody, you know, don't listen to the world. Don't listen to MGTOWs. They're sour people, soured on life from bad experience or two. Maybe they just didn't learn, see the signs, or learn from it. There are people that have been burned in a bad relationship. They they healed up. They licked their wounds. They went back out there, and they were able to find someone, and now they're happy. So don't be so quick to give up on marriage. I didn't need this PDF to convince me that marriage wasn't the ball and chain. I talk many times about the benefits of marriage and the 1170 or so videos I have here on YouTube. I've got many more because this is important to me. Now, their conclusion is this: social science confirms that marriage confers enormous benefits for men's wallets, for their sex life, and for their physical and mental health. Yet, too many men still believe in the ball and chain myth, viewing marriage as an expensive encumbrance on their freedom and their sex lives. These views are ubiquitous in popular culture, and this has undoubtedly had adverse consequences for men's aspirations to marriage. We believe these negative perceptions need to change. The first step is ensuring that the next generation knows the truth about marriage. Journalists, social scientists, policymakers bear a special responsibility for making the good news about marriage more widely known. This is a priority, they say, given some of the adverse consequences men, women, and children have suffered in the retreat from marriage. Now, as far as me, I'm not, included as a journalist or a social scientist. I don't make policy. I'm just a regular guy who was alone for 30 years. Did I say 30 years? Did I really want you to know that? Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag. But if you've been watching this channel for a while, for the last 4 years and 5 months or so, you'll know I was alone for 30 years. That time passed by fast too. Next thing you know, it's like, am I ever going to get married? What's wrong with me? Well, I joined Christian Filipina on day 5. I met my wife, saw her picture actually. It was so soon that she had just happened to join. All they had was her photo. And I remember clicking on her photo or something there saying that I liked it, or I sent a wink. I think it was a wink. And then before I went back up to work on break, she had responded. So I said, hey, can I contact you? And so we can talk some more. And she said, sure. However, this is when I started learning about the time zone difference. When I was either at break, I think I was at break, and my lunch, it was going to put her around 2 in the morning. And she wasn't feeling well at the time. But, but already in our very initial communication, she indicates something very positive for her and for us. She said, I'm not feeling well, but I'll try to stay up for you um, if you want to try to contact me at your lunch. Now, I can never, at that time, 7 years ago, could never be sure when that lunch was going to be. So I told her, well, no, that's okay. I'll set something up and we'll do a chat. And right away, I'm thinking, boy, I wasn't expecting that. She's willing to stay up. I can't believe it. A lot of guys have trouble these days with a woman in the Philippines to communicate. I just released a video, I think, an hour or so ago on TikTok about what did I call it? Be realistic with reciprocation from a Filipina, because some Filipinas aren't, well, they're just, I don't know, they're maybe, they're shy. They're not sure if they really want to date a foreigner. Maybe they've been jaded from bad experiences in the past. They're just kind of kicking the tires on this possibility of meeting a Western man. Maybe their parents are against it. I don't know. But she could be shy with her language. And so it might not always get off to a great fast start. But if she's ready to be married, you're ready to be married, you talk about important things that matter, it can happen sooner than later. Parabiology 101, thank you for joining me here today at 6:03, kind of late. You know, parabiology, I get up so late anymore with my wife's schedule that it seems like it should be 8 a.m. and it's already 6 p.m. It'll be getting dark in about an hour or so. I'm going to go outside for a walk when I can. Still 91 degrees. Man, it has been a heat wave here in the United States of America, more than just the Midwest, I think. Um, so, yeah, this is a good topic. You know, the research indicates marriage is better. Why? Well, well, essentially, God made marriage. It's not good that the man should be alone. When God put Adam on this earth, he knew full well he was going to create a woman for him. He could have just put them there together, right? Created them at the same time, but that wasn't his plan. He knew he was going to do it. In fact, Eve was created from Adam before the day was over. And then when she was made for him, God looked at everything he saw. And I think for the first time, the Bible says that what he saw was very good, because Adam needed a woman. He needed a wife for all kinds of reasons. Marriage is for the good of mankind. What I try to caution here throughout TikTok and YouTube is for men to be realistic. That is to say, to be realistic after marriage to this Filipina. They may have unrealistic expectations for and give up on it too easily. So they could be realistic about how it should be going when they're together, but also they can be so picky looking for that woman that they just never find her. You're not going to find a perfect Filipina. And the Filipinas know they're not going to find the perfect Westerner. They're just not. When you get married, you'll get this kind of figurative uh, punch between the eyes once in a while and realize, oh, okay, this is for real now. There are differences in men and women, and we tend to have a selfish bent to each other, and it's got to be patient and got to be communicating without yelling and threatening and so on and so forth. It's an investment. Patience is an investment. Getting to know your wife is an investment forming that emotional attachment, that is huge. That emotional attachment, I just don't see how before you're married that's going to be anywhere near as good as it can be, because until you're together experiencing tough times in your marriage, being challenged to know how to react to situations you've never thought you would be, part of. Well, until you do that, it's kind of easy. And marriage is the big leagues. It's tougher, um, using that analogy, in the minor leagues, a lot of people are successful in the minor leagues, baseball. And then they go to the big leagues and they find out fastballs are a little faster. They have more movement. Curveballs are sharper. Pitchers have more pitches. Their strategy is better. The defense is better. And all of a sudden, they have a weakness and it gets exploited and they're no good. It's not that they're no good. It's just harder. And marriage is harder than being single. There's a lot of things when you're single and you're not living under the same roof every day, you just don't have to deal with. That makes it easier. In fact, in some ways, you could say you don't have to deal with it because you're not married. That can be a bad thing. Marriage is a good thing. Having to be responsible to each other is a good thing. I think people ought to get married as soon as possible. How many parents today, though, are still together? How many parents are telling their children about the benefits of getting married? I'm not going to wait for journalists, social scientists, and policymakers to spread the good news about marriage. That's what I've been doing here on Love Beyond the Sea since, uh, ironically, or fittingly maybe, Valentine's Day of 2018. That wasn't by design, that's just the way it turned out. So I'm more than willing to cut this off and go do something else. But if there's anybody here that still wants to leave a question or comment, um, that's what I'm happy to talk about. Um, One of these days, I hope that YouTube picks up again. Back in 2020, this channel was doing so much better, and whatever happened after that, I don't know. But it's been all downhill. Not as far as, in my opinion, the quality of the videos. I think, since that time, the longer I'm married, the better these videos should be, because the more I get to live through and the more I can learn from others and the more I can share to other people. So I haven't gone anywhere. I've been putting up one, sometimes two videos a day. Again, I've got, over, I think the last time I saw 1,170 videos. So I'm not sure what YouTube has against me, but, just to make sure I can spread the word, I am on Twitter and Facebook and BitChute and Odyssey. TikTok has been fantastic. Believe it or not, I can put out a video here on YouTube and get 30 views and get 3 or 4 or 5,000 on TikTok, hundreds of comments and likes and so on. That's the way I'd like to see it. But I still think that YouTube can help. We got a lot of videos here on YouTube, not just me sitting here talking to you one-on-one, but of my wife and I doing things on vacation. I have quite a bit of that on there for you. So, Love Beyond the Sea, it's about love. Married my wife in the Philippines, 2015. Just ran right down there as fast as I could. Good thing I had time off. Good thing it was in the early part of the year where I still had vacation. Didn't even have a passport. Didn't even know I needed one because I'd never really flown. But, well, I did fly once. That was with a friend of mine. I think we went to California. So I had to get a passport. They had a passport weekend, fortunately, that week. So I went there, stood in line, tons of people there already, and was worried maybe I wouldn't get one. But finally, I did move up in the line and got that taken care of, got it expedited, went down to the Philippines. That was probably around third week of April 2015. Had an appointment at the embassy because I was going down there to marry her. So when I proposed to her on April 4th, 18 days after, 18th day of our relationship, um, she said, yes, if you come meet me. I went and bought a ring and we started making plans, time off work, embassy appointment. She started doing her things that she needed to do to get us married and planning all of that. And I went out there to see her. I thought to myself, well, what if it's like some guys, they show up and the woman isn't there? Um, or she is there, but she hides. And then they see the guy and they say, oh, no, 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 we're backing out of this. Well, that didn't happen. I wanted a wife. She believed me. She wanted to be married. I don't know for sure why she was so accepting of marrying me that quick. She didn't know me from the man on the moon, but I didn't see any red flags. I don't think she saw any red flags. She trusted me. I mean, you can't always trust somebody just because they put something in a profile. Doesn't mean it's true. Um, and so the communication is important. We talked about 4 hours a day. Sometimes I thought she was contacting me so often to keep me from, getting away. But that was fine because if she hadn't wanted someone to focus on her and want me to, and her to focus on me, I'd still be combing through profiles, looking at beautiful Filipinas, trying to find someone just a little bit better. And that's part of the pickiness, not just being picky for qualities that are not necessarily realistic, but you start just looking for someone just a little bit better. That can really slow you down, especially if you're focusing on physical beauty. There's no end to physically lovely Filipinas, but that's not going to help you stay married. It's hard work. And if you take the time to look through my videos, and I should say this because I usually forget, please subscribe here to Love Beyond the Sea. I've been doing this since Valentine's Day 2018, and I don't plan on not making videos anymore. I've got lots and lots of topics. And as far as I know, if you want a place that's talking about marriage to a Filipina and talking about marriage in general, there are not many of those out there. I'm one of the few. And from a biblical perspective, I'm probably the only one that hasn't added up to a torrent of subscribers. But I do welcome subscribers here, TikTok, anywhere, where I'm making these videos. Paul T says, hi, thanks for your videos. I like the TikTok format. Well, the TikTok format, it's got pluses and minuses, Paul. For example, you can do a live stream like I'm doing here. Problem is, what I read was it's only going to be up for like 30 days and then it's gone. And here on YouTube, those live streams will be there as long as they don't take my channel down, I guess. And they can be found in, I've got a playlist called live streams. That's why I like YouTube. It's got playlist capability. I'm not sure how to do playlists, if even you can, on TikTok. TikTok, shorter videos. Well, it was until recently when they allowed up to 10 minutes for a video. And so I'm doing that too, although I try to keep it at 3 to 4 minutes for a video. And sometimes it just goes long. But here, YouTube, I don't have to worry about it. I try not to make really long videos here either because I know generally people's attention spans is not very big. And when other channels are about entertainment or trying to make you laugh or being silly, I suppose that's easier to engage the audience. I'm more of a serious person, and I look at every day like, okay, I better do my best because I'm running out of time. It's uncomfortable, but it's true. I'm 60. I'll be 61 here in about 3 months, and this is a scary thought. But we all get older, and then we want to pass on meaningful information. For me, as a single person for way, way, way too long, I want to talk about being married. I want to help other men open up to talk about getting married, wanting to be married, um, not listening to society that says all women are the same. They're not. Marriage skills are very important. I just did a video about that. I think marriage skills are more important than actually knowing everything about the woman that you marry, because you have to be ready for the job. You don't know necessarily who you're getting until you're together, when everything shows up. So you have to have the skills to be able to respond to her and know what you're getting into. Learn from people who have been married a long time. I always find that interesting when people have been married 30, 40, 50, 60 years. Talk about their keys. One guy said, had been married 63 years, said, I've learned I'd rather be happy than right. So sometimes you just want to make sure that you're not stirring up trouble in your relationship. Paul says you're putting out, I'm reading from my phone here. Paul says you're putting out good advice. I could have avoided a lot of problems if I just started with Christian Filipina. Hope to make it to the Philippines. Some things can only be confirmed in person. That's right, Paul. The in person is where things start to get interesting, where things can either develop or come apart. And I hope you can go to the Philippines this year, Paul, if you're vaccinated, or excuse me, if you're not vaccinated for COVID, then as of today, I believe you have to be vaccinated to go there. So I just made a video on TikTok recently. In fact, it's on YouTube because I put them on TikTok and I put them on YouTube. What I would do if I was in a situation many men are right now, and they've been talking to somebody in the Philippines, and maybe they weren't even expecting it to go well. And now they're at the point where, I can go to the Philippines and meet her, and maybe something can happen here. But the Philippines government says you got to be vaccinated. I don't want to be vaccinated. What am I going to do? That's too personal a decision for me to tell anybody else what to do. I can only speculate what I would do in that situation, which is depending on how serious that relationship with the Filipina is. If I've told her I love her, ooh, that changes everything. I'd have to get vaccinated, prove to her that I mean what I say. Because when you love somebody, and I've talked so much about this, and I'll keep doing it, I suppose. I love you. Those are three of the most vacuous words. Some people can just say it, and it's frivolous. What does it mean? It doesn't mean what it means to me. Um, I've said many times, you don't have to love that person until you get married. When you get married, you're taking a vow before God and men, witnesses, family members, friends, and you're saying, I'm going to love you. Okay? You don't have to love them before then. Uh, you just have to be in a position that I want the person. I want to live the rest of my life. Anything before that, I'm not sure how love it is, because it's in the single state. And as I said earlier, marriage is harder, it's more serious. And that's when you have to love each other. Love is a tough deal, requires a lot of patience, a lot of endurance, not getting your own way, sacrifice. But over the years, it all adds up. The investments you make that we talked about here at the end of this, the portion that I read through, marriage is worth the investment. And I certainly have felt that way myself. I mean, if you're feeling like, you're not going to marry anybody unless you're 1000% sure it's going to last, then you'll never propose, and you'll never be free to just roll up your sleeves and do everything you can for that person, because you don't trust her. Maybe you don't trust yourself. So there is some uncharted waters, when you marry someone. I kind of find it exciting myself. I'm not a riverboat gambler. I just knew that I felt I was prepared as I was going to be to marry Isa or anyone else. I certainly wasn't planning on it being almost 10,000 miles away. But that's where I found someone. I know other men who are looking in the Philippines, other men who have married women in the Philippines that live around here where we do. These type of couples, Filipino American couples, are all over the United States. Some of them work out, some of them don't. But again, as we mentioned in this PDF, there are things that a man can do to stay married, to help his chances of staying married. So I might be, you know, having a message here that's going to fall largely on deaf ears. I know that enough of you have contacted me in email or private messages, comment sections, and have been grateful for me wanting to help them try to find a wife, commiserate with them in the struggles they've had being single. We'll talk about the struggles in marriage, the benefits in marriage, hopefully as long as I live. And this is just what interests me. It's not the only thing that interests me, but it's a big one. And Paul, I appreciate your comment. Parabiology, thank you for being here. I do have some links that are on your computer off to the right side. Filipino visa, that's a visa service you can use if you find a Filipina and then you want to do a fiance visa or spousal visa. We did a spousal visa. And then there's Christian Filipina affiliate link. That's where I met my wife so quickly. I mean, I met her on day 5 of my membership. And day 18, I proposed to her and she said yes. Now, I was this close to just not doing it at all, because when they told me, well, sir, you can't just go to the Philippines, get married, legally married, go on a honeymoon, and then fly back to the United States together, I wasn't aware of that. Because, like I said, I wasn't thinking about marrying somebody from another country, but I was willing to do whatever I had to do. So I thought, you know what? That sounds terrible. I've been waiting so long. Now you tell me I'm going to actually be married, but not because I can't be with them for what the time they were saying, 8 months, 12 months. I thought, I waited long enough. That's terrible. I may not do that. So I told them, you know what? I'm going to think about this over the night. And if I feel good about it, I'll call you back. I think it was on a Friday night when this happened. And I'm going to think about it, sleep on it, and then pray about it. And then I'll let you know. And so then I thought, I still remember this to this day, thinking, what have I got to lose? If I don't sign up, and it's not cheap, but you get what you pay for. I think the customer service is very helpful to you. I thought if I don't sign up, I think we know the result. I'm going to be alone, miserable, lonely, complaining, single man who knew that he should have been married, but he didn't know why it didn't happen. Now, that really bothered me. I said, okay, if this is a chance, it wasn't what I was planning on doing, but you know what? The goal is to get married. I don't care if I have to go to Mars or Timbuktu or the Philippines, but there are good women out there who also, believe it or not, want to get married They will consider a Westerner. And sometimes it just comes down to getting to know a woman and asking her to marry you. But you can't do that if you're afraid of the unknown, afraid of it not working out. That's why I try to make videos here to talk about what I think will work out. You may not agree with everything. You may not agree with the spiritual or the biblical side. But again, I feel if God created man and woman and created marriage, then he ought to know how to help us to stay married. So lots of videos out there for people to consider. And please subscribe here to Love Beyond the Sea if you have not. And I'm going to try to find my way back here to the screen. If I get my cursor to work. There we go. So thank you for those that were here today, and left a comment. And even if you didn't leave a comment, I appreciate the thumbs up. Parabiology 101, Paul T. Uh, thanks for contributing today and for watching. And so till the next time I do a video or a live stream, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea.